Greetings and welcome to AlonzoBash Podcast, where art and culture meets activism. Get ready for a powerful and unfiltered conversation. Alonzo sat down with Caribbean media heavyweight O'Brian Haynes, urban media pioneer, and one of the most influential voices in regional broadcasting. From his early days growing up in South Trinidad, raised by a single mother, to becoming a defining force in Caribbean media, Mr. Haynes' journey is one of resilience, reinvention, and impact. Known for his leadership as former CEO of Radio Vision Limited, Power 102 FM, Vice President of 94.1 Boom Champions, and Managing Director of Boom 106.9 FM, O'Brian has helped shape the sound and direction of modern Caribbean radio. Many first came to know him in the 1990s as the charismatic host of the iconic teen talent show Nescafé Partytime, a cultural phenomenon that launched countless careers and became a staple across the region. In this episode, Mr. Haynes aka OB opens up like never before, sharing his evolution from fashion designer to media executive, the hard lessons from business failures, and his transition from radio to television. He breaks down the pivotal moment that changed the trajectory of his career and addresses the highly controversial suspension that shook the Caribbean, involving former Prime Minister Patrick Manning and a decision that sparked national debate. This is more than a media story. It's a masterclass in perseverance, leadership, and navigating controversy at the highest level. Real people, real conversations. AlonzoBash Podcast starts now.
Greetings and welcome to AlonzoBash Podcast. I'm your host, AlonzoBash, and of course today, man, we have another special one. This brother right here, when it comes to media and entertainment, trust me, best of the best. Ladies and gentlemen, let's waste no time, and Mr. O'Brian Haynes, welcome, brother.
Thanks a lot, Alonzo. Thanks a lot. Best of the best, you say, eh? Have a smile.
Best, man, how you mean? How you feeling, man? How you feeling?
Well, pretty cool for the while. It's as I said, this is my first time actually stepping out after many years and really getting in front of a camera, any kind of camera to talk. So it's a little unsettling. I hopefully I'll get my legs back soon.
Nah, man, well, I appreciate it, man. I really, really appreciate it. All right, so let's get into your backstory real quickly. So you're born and raised is it Pleasantville, Trinidad? Am I correct on that?
I'm a San Fernando boy. My primary school years was off Butcher Street, off Coffee in San Fernando.
Okay.
I went to Pleasantville Junior Secondary School. That would be called San Fernando East Junior Secondary.
Okay.
Pleasantville Senior Comprehensive.
Yeah.
Right. So from there, as single parent who we moved around a lot. So
Okay.
lived on Butcher Street, moved to Laramie, lived in Pina, actually DB, Monash Road, DB for a while.
Wow, they deep
So I
South
moved
boy.
around. You can say perennially, I'm a South boy.
Okay, a South boy, a South man.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
you mentioned single parent. So I'm assuming your mom was a single mom.
Yeah, single mom. I'm the oldest, 4 boys.
Okay.
Pops have quite a few others though.
Yeah.
He was the first to pass away. I lost my mom just after I got into the radio career. So
Did you have a relationship with your dad at all?
not really. It was kind of stretched. Our family fairly broken up. I had a better relationship with my father's mother, my grandmother.
Okay.
Right? It's ironic. Her house was just at the back of the Pleasantville Senior Comprehensive.
Oh, wow.
Before then, we spent time by her, go up. So I had a better relationship with my grandmother than with my father.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That was.
Yeah.
I had to be the boss of the house, the man of the house in a lot of ways, because mom was out working, 3 brothers. I had to do everything to raise them. Right? She says my mom taught each of us a basic domestic skill. And that I think falls just together. I learned to cook. My other brother could clean house, and then I had one who could iron clothes well. So we always had that deal. I'm not cooking until the house clean, and the iron go out with my uniform for school. So we had that kind of understanding.
Yeah, that's a good deal because listen, you can't cook in a dirty house.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
But even little things like this, managing the whole operation, making sure the balance of what food is there versus what is needed for the week or for the month or whatever. But I'm thinking kind of household thing was always part of my responsibility. That was when I was going through the period going to school. There was a transition when I left school. Because I always say, mommy told me something before she passed. She said that, you're the first, and in a lot of ways, you're the experiment. I learned how to raise the other boys by some of the mistakes I made in handling you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't mad at it. I kind of understood as I got older what she meant by that. So that was much of a big. It was interesting times growing up, as I said, moving from place to place, not having something like all life was a constant struggle. My mom was a centrist, trying
Okay.
to, as I say, raise boys on her own. She came from a large broken family as well. She was
Yeah.
first child for her mother,
Mm.
first of eight, I
Okay.
think,
Wow.
seven, first of seven. But
Yeah.
she was born out of wedlock, and then the others were born when my grandmother married. So
Yeah.
my grandmother died early, and so she had to raise the family for her stepfather. So she
Okay.
became parents to her brothers and sisters. And that kind of is some of the things that she passed on to me in relation to, okay, I had to go out and make it happen. So you look
Yeah.
out for the boys and then make sure things happen, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
Having a male figure, a parental figure coming up, that was something that was kind of absent most of the time. The only thing actually did really well was look out for people. She have a saying that we always picking up straight because somebody will be in a problem and mommy will take them in. We didn't have much, but she's still taking them in. We had people live with us at different intervals because they were going
Yeah.
through whatever personal trauma they had
Yeah.
or family
Yeah.
stress. And well, our place was like the sanctuary,
Yeah.
although we didn't have much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I also kind of inherited that from her as well, that kind of behavior.
Yeah, that's a good inheritance, man. That's nice. All right. So what was like growing up in? You mentioned moving around a lot. So which community that you spent most of your, I would say, your teenage years and so forth? Your early years.
Early teen years, San Fernando, because I did primary, when I was in primary school,
Yeah.
we lived, then I moved from there. We moved to my aunt in Coquille Village.
Mm.
And then just as I was transitioning to get into junior secondary school, we moved to Pinal. It was actually DB just before Pinal area, more sure there. It was
Yeah.
a real culture shift. It taught me a lot because we were the only African people, not the
Yeah.
only African family for
Mm.
11 miles in any direction.
Yeah.
Meant that somebody coming to check us would just ask, I'm looking for so and so and so. I want to say the Negro guy, the Negro woman, they never knew to point you because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's right there.
Yeah.
But the cultural shift and change, there's, in every phase of my life, I learned certain things.
Okay.
There's where I started to learn about business and money management. You everything from a man called Rick Johuri.
Mm.
Rick was he had a nice piece of land at the back of his house. He also sold in the market. Right? So after being there for a little while, he took me to the back and showed me the little garden thing. He said, okay, this little piece of sliver of land is yours. While he working, I would work in the garden alongside him. And how to plant peas and corn, you could put them in the same hole, cause one goes
Yeah.
before the other and harvest it before the other. Yeah? And that whole process, one
Mm.
night he would come and count his money. So one day, many months down the road, he was counting and he had $20,000. So
Wow.
he said, I need to buy a car. So I
Mm.
said, well, I'm quickly, wait, you're going to buy the car tomorrow? He said,
Yeah.
I'll go buy the bank. I said, wait, you go buy the bank for you, so I'm going to put the money in the bank. I said,
Right.
I said, go and buy the car. He said,
Right.
well, I'm going to put the money in the bank and I'm going to take a loan. And I'll
Mm.
pay back the loan. So when I done pay back the loan, the money gets secure the loan from me. And when I done pay back the loan, I'll have all the money. And again, without a father, parental figure, in that
Yeah.
figure, a male parental figure to teach you the ropes, lesson I learned in relation to how to handle money and what to do,
Money.
what's
Yeah.
among to it. There are other people in my life as I went along that taught me significant things. But he
Yeah.
was one of the first teaching pillars in relation to
Mm.
transitioning from a child, a teenager, into an adult.
Wow.
Business and handling the sun,
Yeah.
planting your garden, and how to handle money.
So wait, I'm still getting over this. You used to plant garden and sell in the market and so forth?
Boy, you would believe the kind of things that's just part of the story. I used to plant that was in junior secondary school days.
Yeah.
Around that same time, I started. I joined. They had something in Trinidad called Junior Achievement. I joined Junior Achievements, and what those are about forming companies and starting little businesses and that kind of thing. And I eventually rose to the president of the company. And one of the products we decided to make was these little, the teddy bears you used to have in them cars long time made out of pom pom.
Yeah. I remember seeing them in taxis and that.
Yeah, well, we used to make them and sell them probably for about $3 for one, that kind of thing. I personally made and sold 3,000
Serious?
myself. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
But again, that was a teaching thing too, learning to hustle,
Yeah.
make your way and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And that was the junior secondary school years. Went to senior sec, we did basic modern studies. I
Yeah.
wouldn't call myself a super studious fella. I was more interested in the arts and that kind of thing. But
Right.
academically, I wasn't a failure academically. I
Yeah.
understood the basics. Literature was my favorite subject because
Okay.
the teacher was fascinating. Mr. Samuel was brilliant at explaining
Yeah.
the analogies involved in the literal side of the stories. I
Mhm.
enjoyed that. English teacher too was quite good. So I excelled in those things. Maths something I always had a difficulty with. Came out of school and I didn't have anything to, when you graduate, they always tell you, listen, go to school, study hard, get your subjects, and your life will be great.
Gotcha.
With about 3 passes and couldn't figure out, what to do and
Next
stuff.
group, yeah.
Doing nothing. And then one day my mom gave me a wake-up call. I've been home for about 6 months. She came to me in the afternoon. After work about 4 o'clock, she said, okay, here we are.
Yeah.
Not at school right now. So I'm giving you until the end of the month. You can't start bringing in no income here.
Yeah.
You can't eat here. You can't eat here.
Wow.
I pick up and I leave and I went down south.
Mom sound like a listen to it. Mom sound like a no nonsense type of individual.
Yeah, she was straightforward, you know what I mean? But that was that driving force too, because we had to make it, and she knew that okay, you can't get to a stage of adulthood. Stop, you have to keep moving. She
Yeah, keep moving.
used to do things to keep me moving. And because I work under my place, I work as a clerk in the small can bookstore. I worked at a little ice cream parlor with a Chinese girl and a Chang ice cream parlor. I was there for a little while selling ice cream. Then I started to work at a Chiller's Variety Store on Mocrapa Street. That is right over by the market down there. I worked there.
Okay.
My job was they had these trees outside the store with goods done. Your job was to watch that and sell from there, make sure nobody else steal nothing. And if you know anything about Mocrapa Street was like the market street and all.
Yeah. I'm from Marimas. Down south, up south. I know south that well, but I'm
Mocrapa was one of the roughest streets. That's where pickpockets, hustlers, and the runners used to be that kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it could get very rough. So me and the other guy who would book the front we had some drama sometimes because somebody would always try to thief something, whether in the store or out the store, and you have to run them down and matter. So it was looking security / thing. But while there, one day I just took it up on myself. I told myself, I said, let me do the show window now. So I go ahead and I think I spend whole night I do up the store window and that kind of stuff. Because the window you see well, you see the window when you're passing the night and thing. And the ships out of bamboo that they used to sell to tourists and thing at the port. And they would come and buy. The port sellers would buy it from the wholesale. I would make them and they would come and buy it. And that was my hustle. I would always make money and thing, but that was still in school days. Coming out of school, I was working at sellers and watching this Joy of Craft show. There a guy on called Christopher Panero, and he was painting fabric. And painting fabric. And I was like, wow, I really like what this real, I went to my little material. I started practicing and stuff. So when I reach home from work every evening, and there in the gallery, and we had a shared gallery with the demand, the company, because the whole gallery is painted up over the wall, and hang the cloth to dry over the land and that kind of thing. One day, mom take one piece of cloth because she was a seamstress and she made a skirt. A girl bought it from her. The girl was working at a store in God City. And she wore the skirt to work. And the boss said, hey, wait, get that. She said, I was the seamstress and her son painted and that kind of thing. She said, well, look at me, tell them bring some pieces. I'm going to look at it now. So they told me, take me about 3 weeks and make up a few things, some shirts, some trousers. I think I had samples and I carried down. The store was also called After 9. Back in the days, there had a chain of stores called Numbers that used to only sell jeans. After 9, the daughter Numbers. She started ordering. She said, I like this shirt. I want 5 dozens of this. I want 4 dozens of this. And I just write it on a book, right.
So wait, at this time, you knew how to sew?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
I kind of do that thing because the thing is, you're born, your mom is a seamstress all your life, so you understand the basics of sewing. I wasn't so advanced, it was just very basic.
Yeah.
And I took this stuff back to mom and I show her what this what she wanted. And so mom said, well, how are you going to do this? And I sit down with all the sizes and I sit down, cut it out. And it take me like about 2 weeks to do the 5 dozen shirts. But I sew it myself, get it ready. I alone work it day and night to finish it and that kind of thing. At that time, I gave up on the job because I felt I couldn't do the job down there and I dropped the shirts down. She paid me cash for the shirts. And then I buy more material and then I do the pants and then I started, do the items one by one. That was the birth of my foray into clothes and fashion because I started doing stuff. And what used to be nice or frustrating is you spend sometimes 2 weeks working on a line of clothes and you drop it in the store on the Tuesday. And when you pass in the mall on Friday and Saturday evening, you only have 2 pieces left on your rack. And you need to do something more for me. But that was the birth of O'Brian Outwear.
Wow.
And that was, me getting into, from there, like make a little money, buy a couple of machines. I hired some people, sew stitchers, a girl who know how to cut pattern and thing. I had about 7 people working for me. This is, mommy at the time was living upstairs and I was able to rent from a landlord.
Right.
So I had the downstairs turned it into like a little mini garment factory. the
wow.
time that the local fashion industry was now thriving. The whole thing about designers and local
Right,
clothing
right,
and
right.
a big deal. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we were going pretty good. From
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
I went, somebody wanted them about clothes for a fashion show. So I lent them the clothes and drop it off and that kind of thing. And while I was there getting ready for the show and we were to start with MC, we trying about to MC. I never did anything like that before. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it.
yeah. Yeah.
I went on stage and I introduced the show and I was like, everybody said, hey, you song so good, you should be on radio.
Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend because I'm custom talking, I was always talking to him, but I couldn't relate to the song that my voice and what other people was hearing. That
Right,
didn't
right.
register. My voice was my voice, I was just being me.
Yeah.
I was no fancy speaker at that time or anything like that. I was just doing something. And then I did a couple other shows by thing. And in one show, a lady come up to me, a border Chinese lady came up to me and said, I want you to work for me.
Just
Her name
so.
was Jackie, her name was Jackie Kunal.
Oh man.
And she had this agency down here called the House of Jackie.
Yes.
I started working I became the voice of the fashion commentator for the House of Jackie. Put a whole other dimension into my life. So I was still sewing clothes,
Yeah.
manufacturing and selling to the stores and thing. I had like one in Marbella, one in store in Gulf City, and I had 2 stores, one in Trinity City and another one in Port of Spain that I would buy myself on a regular basis.
Wow.
And now I was MCing shows for House of Jackie.
Yes.
Because Jackie would do shows all over the country from a Friday evening pub to doing something for the president's wife at
Oh
an
wow.
elephant tea party. At any given weekend, you have 5, 6 shows, and you're going from doing something in Oakwood at Cocoa Pub to doing
Man.
the president's wife
Mm.
at QRC
Yeah.
the tea party. To, you know, to doing something for Sir Optimus or doing something for BWI. It was just all levels of corporate existence. It kept fluctuating back and forth.
It
And
was
that is
getting,
where, huh?
no, so you was getting that exposure.
Yeah, that was it. That was the training ground, right?
Yeah.
Because I was in the capacity as fashion commentator. I didn't just do my clothes. I was working across the board. House Jackie had a host of other designers they worked with regularly. Plus, we had other guest designers. So you would
Okay.
find me doing commentary for Heather Jones was very regular. And when Heather had her own show, she would call me to. She said, "Brian, I love your voice. I want you to. You have to do the show." And I did most of Heather's show. Heather's fashion show coming up. Sometimes we do big projects like I remember Express Paper had something called Colony Caribbean, which was a big fashion. Did that. I do everything from Queen's Hall to you name it. Length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow.
The
Crazy.
best spots we did was Upper Level Club on a Friday evening.
Okay.
And the Upper Level Club is where they have party time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We get to that.
So, so that's the next chapter. My secondary school days. Like, I didn't talk about when I was doing, at one time I was doing lunches, I was doing food, cooking and delivering lunches all over San Fernando.
That's why we here. That's why we here. Because you did mention your mom said, yeah, you know, that's one of your responsibilities to cook. Obviously, you can cook. The cooking was part of your hustle too in the early years.
Yeah, that was a partner of mine, his mom and I, they lived on Black Street. I used to off Carib Street in San Fernando. And it was
Okay.
kind of central to everything.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, Mom's, I can use the kitchen? She said, yeah, because she used to go, she was a nurse going out to work every day. But she
Right.
said, want to clean the place when you're done.
Yeah.
So I would leave home, drop my menus around 2 o'clock to all the stores and offices around San Fernando. Go to the market in the morning early, buy
Right.
my market, buy my meat, everything, prepare my food. By 11 o'clock, food done. What orders come in, I'll leave in 4 times. I'll leave at 11 and go and deliver, walk in there, and then come back, pack more boxes, deliver at 12, 13. Yeah!
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was doing between 20, 25 and 50 lunches a day. And
Yeah.
you're done that at 2 o'clock in the evening, you're done work. So it used to be, well, from a work perspective,
Yeah,
you finish work early.
wow.
But you're tired.
Yeah.
You're real tired. You know? That was a crazy hustle. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's
Um, the fashion thing was what kind of it opened my mind up to what other possibilities exist.
yeah,
Now.
possibly that. Yeah.
Point in my life, you feel you reach, but you didn't reach because when I started the clothing thing, the business, the factory, I felt okay. I have a stable business.
Right.
Right? I had some horror stories there because again, I didn't really have all when I talk about learning about handling money.
Yeah.
It wasn't that great because I remember one time, mommy had a customer. She was a manager at Republic Bank.
Yeah.
She came to get clothes by mommy, but mommy said, well, my son doing things, she come downstairs and see what I'm doing and stuff and thing. And she said, well,
Right.
you should expand this. She said, well, come and see what come and see what. Went
Yeah.
up to see her, get a loan, buy a couple machines, buy a car, first check it, account first checkbook and that kind of drama and thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's a disaster waiting to happen. So it evolved into feeling not unable to pay the loan, being coming and repossessing the car,
Wow.
taking on the fees and everything. Now that was a perfect moment too because you got the loan, you
So,
started
so,
to go the business.
so what happened? You feel at that point that you reach, and get caught up with the image. Sometimes
It wasn't the image. It was just not understanding how to manage things. If something happened too fast,
yeah,
you will not understand how to manage it. You think you do. Because
yeah,
here I moved from having a little small cottage thing by myself to having workers. And suddenly now I have 7 people that I have to pay every week
yeah,
are responsible for. Again, orders from all over the place, I have to manage that. And sometimes they get an order, but the timelines and the terms in which you're going to get paid is delayed. And it
yeah,
makes it mess up the timeline to paying salary and that kind of stuff.
yeah,
You have mechanical breakdown, you have other supply chain issues that you didn't understand. And if I look back on hindsight now, that was a lot of training for managing business because my career in management does some because of what I learned in that school I had not. Right.
right.
But
Mm,
when we failed and couldn't pay the loan at the bank foreclosed, it was the most interesting thing again because my mom never got involved. She knew I was doing badly and she never,
yeah,
you know what I mean, on customers. I went into big
right,
business with me. That was
right,
for boutiques and major stores and that kind of thing. And that
right,
was different to what she was doing. When I
right,
got the loan from the bank, she didn't go with me to get it. She didn't tell me what to do with it. She didn't get involved in it in any kind of way. When I failed and the bailiff at the bank come to foreclose, she never come downstairs bank officers reach with the bailiff and
wow,
my mom stay upstairs. She never come downstairs once. But listen to this.
yeah,
They came, they went through the full inventory of stuff. They took the keys for the car. They took the machines that had any kind of value. Everything of value they took and they left.
right,
And I'm
right,
just sitting downstairs in the workshop area, just sitting. And about 20 minutes after I left, my mom walked downstairs.
yeah,
The old tabletop sewing machine she had, that was her first machine, and she walked inside and she
yeah,
rested. She didn't say I would just rested in the middle of the place, watchman walk back upstairs. That was it. She never
wow,
said anything again. I
yeah,
went inside, I lie down, and I started to think. And then I remember there was this nurse that bought some clothes from me, and she was owing me some money. She was about, I think, $700. I get up next morning when I contact her, she said, come for it. I went down 700, got the $700. I
yeah,
buy clothes, start again, and I started to do it myself. So basically, I started the whole business over from scratch. And in about 6 months, I was back to having the machines, staff, and I was back almost to where I was before the crisis, without the worry of a loan over your head and without,
yeah,
so you learn from the experience now,
right, right.
right? And
Oh,
that was mommy's style. She wasn't talking much. She just used to come and do something and leave you to figure it out.
wow.
You know?
Yeah, she give you that original sewing machine she had too, man.
Yeah, I still have it.
Yeah, that was
And it's still working. I never get rid of it. I kept it all the years, and I say, because some of the things you go through in life, you don't just discard it because the memories are wrong. This help fuel you as you move on from there.
yeah, that's true. That's
You know what
true.
I mean? Step by step. So,
All right,
so
so you
you
did
go
this
on.
certain thing, the design and things. You mentioned upper level. So I heard a story and I want you to help me with this part. I heard you used to go to upper level when I had party time. And you used to a lot of the outfits we see the dancers with back then on party time. You was responsible for that. Yeah?
Just party time. Most of the youth-oriented things happening at that time,
Yeah.
because I was more of a young style designer, I became that the dance groups and them, I would do the clothes for most of the dancers in party time. This is before I actually got on the show. And the funny thing with getting onto party time, while I was trying to get on hosting the show, I was waiting.
Yeah.
And there was another club opposite Upper Level Club. A girl called Kathy Sam who was putting together a show called On Track. And it was supposed to be
Yeah.
this young new entertainment show that was going to compete with part time. It was going to show on Channel 4. And she called me to do the show. And then I found that I was waiting on Upper Level. It wasn't looking like they was going to take me on. All I heard Wendell and they were retiring, but
Yeah.
they didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't look like I was going to get the gig. It looked like I was going to go to someone else. And
Yeah.
Kathy was behind me, and she was ready to go right away. So I went to Kathy, and we started, and we did the first episode. And On Track, it showed on television. It showed on Channel 4. It was a big, wow, everybody liked the show. It was really hot and that kind of thing. And the
Right.
next week, after the first episode, the next week, I got a call.
Yeah.
They called me to see me. I went to Upper Level and met her thing and said, "This is what to do," and something.
Yeah.
And I made a conscious decision to go and leave On Track and go to Upper Level. Now, the irony is that it's the clubs are opposite one another. Upper Level is on this side of the West Mall. I remember the other club was named, but I was right on the other side. Saturday mornings while we having rehearsals, they having actual people, you know. And everybody just tell me, you're stupid, you should stay with the show because I'm going to mash up party time and blah, 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 blah. But I took the decision to go. I think weather was the main factor in that because
Okay.
he was at that time. I wanted somebody who knew to teach you the ropes. You had your own style, but you need to know the basics. He had a unique ability to teach.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I was saying, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because, Wendell, he's very professional, you know what I mean? And the person could, when they follow in his footsteps, in the right direction, you know?
Yeah, he's also a very harsh taskmaster. I can hear some
Yeah.
stories about that too, but that's later on up the road, right? And I think that in a lot of ways, that is what, no, I'm telling you, the things I went through from a disciplinary perspective, it was interesting to enjoy a level of success and popularity, but
Yes.
still be able to understand what it is to be disciplined. Some decisions what I took on the hosting a party time, I made on my own. Like when I started party time, I used to smoke. The minute I got the gig, they told me I had the job, I stopped smoking. I just never picked up a cigarette after that. Because I
Uh-huh.
felt that one, it was the company that was the main sponsor, the people who were behind the show. 'Cause when I got there, I met the entire team, and Hollis and Wendell and oh gosh, what's his name again? But names are losing
Yeah,
constantly. And stuff like that. But all of them, all the major people were there, and they had collectively made a decision from watching me host fashion shows on a Friday.
yeah, right.
Thinking, we get, I remember Lindsay saying, no, we should give him a try because man, how am I game? I tried.
Mm, right.
And and they made this say, okay, we're gonna give you the chance. And I was like, okay, cool. You know? And at that time, I think that first year was me and if you know Mariba Pacano.
The name sounds familiar, but I can't place a face though. Yeah.
Mariba would have been a phenomenon back in the days because at that time when they had HIV and AIDS was really popular. I'm not saying popular, but very strong out there. There was a show that Mariba did with a girl called Stacey Salmon about
Okay.
safety and practicing safe sex and thing, but it was done in a way that was geared towards a younger audience. It was very
Yeah.
edgy and right up there. So he was popular before anybody knew who I was, who Mariba was the man. So when we got the part time gig, I had one person who everybody knew, which was Mariba, and the other one who was just being discovered. That was me.
And
Um,
what year this we talking about here?
what? Yeah.
Within this part.
Taking my back, but it would have been,
It's going to be like 90, what, 92, 93, somewhere around
yeah, it's about 99. It was after the coup, so it would have to have been, yeah,
there?
92, 93.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on track there,
Yeah.
right? So we were the first season host after Wendell and Lisa made their transition.
Okay.
And then Muriba did one season. The next season I was paired with Melanie Hudson. And then the next season I was paired with Renee Castle. So I did 3 seasons altogether. No, I did 5 seasons of Party Time, so I had to have done 2 with somebody.
Yeah. You got to do
I did 5 seasons before moving into the hosting of it and the producing of it because I was hosting for 5 years, and
Yeah.
then while Wendell produced, Ines was the director, and then I was fortunate enough to produce the show, and
Yeah.
that is when we had other hosts coming into the fray and looking from there. So
Yeah.
it was an interesting time.
What happened to the show that you left? I'd never heard about that show.
It failed. On track didn't last. I think they got 3 episodes out. But the
Yeah.
decision not to go with it was smart. Some
Yeah.
people have said it's only because I wasn't there. I don't.
Yeah.
I never look back on it as anything like that. I felt that I had an opportunity to get into something that was a legacy. Party Time revolutionized young programming for television in
Right.
this country, and to get in there at the ground level and be a part of that franchise to me wasn't rocket science. It was easy to do.
What were some of the early hurdles? Like you said, when you first joined Party Time, you stopped smoking, and of course, like you mentioned, it's the cousin time as we call it. As you were saying, you kind of strict. What some of your challenges?
Kind of strict. That's a light description. Kind of strict is nothing. That's like going to the Shaolin Temple and
Yeah.
or you go in there to learn karate and man tell you carry buckets of water up the hill and you can't understand why you carry buckets of water up the hill
Yeah. Yeah.
until you get fed up with it. That is when that. Right?
What were
No,
some of your challenges?
but there were while Wendell was very much in your face as far as the production of the show is concerned. The development as you as a personality and your popularity, he did not interfere. He did
Right.
not even advise. He allowed you to organically develop yourself, make your mistakes. There were times when he would call you into his office and say, hey, so and so and so, you need to be careful with this or you need to be
Yeah.
careful with that. But in those scenarios, he did not try to control you. His concern was the production and getting
Right.
the right thing out for the show. That is where he would come down on you.
Right.
Mispronounce a word, have a bad handle, wear something inappropriate, or treat with something that would damage your brand, you're gonna get step 2. But as far as when you became popular, you know, he wasn't that kind of situation. One year, I remember, okay, series had ended, we had a winner, and part of the prize was the winner performed on a major concert. I remember, was it MC Hammer? I think it was MC Hammer and somebody else. I can't remember. Yeah, it would have been MC Hammer, and I think it was the boys or something like that. And the guys got to perform on the show. And as the host of Party Time, you were allowed to introduce them. And that was one of my. I was all fine until about 30 minutes before the show. I lost my voice. I lost my voice completely. Right? It was like I didn't feel psychosomatic. But after I get hoarse and my voice wouldn't come back. I was just hoarse. He said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." So find a way, make it happen, right? And I went on because it was just one act introducing there. That was my first time emceeing on a big concert. That would have been the first time 19 concerts I hosted in my career after. But that one was really like, wow. I mean, getting on that stage, as a real skill boy, right? And you had this bravado because you're real up there. And for me, my whole career was built on the look because from the time I got to the party, I said, "Brian, you're not as good looking as everybody else. You know all that great. So you know how to make clothes, so make the clothes talk for you." So in every episode of Party Time, I would go out on my way to plan out to the point where, as the series went on, people would come on our TV and Saturday morning, "Let me see what he wearing this week."
I just want to say that, man. I remember as a youth, looking at Party Time. One of the things is you were looking at what the brand win, what brand coming out with, because at that time, anything in fashion. I think remember that hat with the string in the back.
Yeah,
I think you were the
yeah. I did plenty that for some of them dancers too. We did a lot of that. That was the TLC era.
Yeah.
Nah, but and the fashion thing transcended from that because that's how I started. That's how I got the hosting gig for Kiss Kitty Caravan too. Remember, I was the host of Kiss Kitty Caravan. And I became the host because I went to a rehearsal at Caribbean Sound Basin to measure the guys for outfits. While I was there, Robert Amaro came in and Gary said, "Okay, let me do a performance. I was rehearsal. Let me do a performance for that for Robert." And then he said, "Well, look, we had the Party Time host here. Let him introduce all and let me make it happen." And after I introduced the second, by the time I introduced the second act, Robert pulled me aside and said, "Well, listen, you need to come back tomorrow because we have to sign you up. You have to be the host for this."
Yeah. Wow.
And that was I was doing Party Time and then I started doing Kiss Kitty Caravan as well. And that was the whole thing. But getting on 98.9 because 98.9 was the first urban radio station.
Yeah.
While I was popular as a TV host doing Party Time was simply summertime, July, August. So he was trying to get a regular day gig. While I was doing that, when they came up with this idea of creating a show called no, that came after. Flavor came after. First, I got on radio. That day in question, I went uptown to buy fabric by Jimmy Abu.
Okay.
I was good. Every time I go, I would call when the notice anything come. One time I call him and say, "Hey, was he seeing anything happen with getting on 90?" He would been trying to talk to Louis to tell him, "Listen, check out Obi. He's doing Party Time and you should look at him as probably one of the young DJs that could come on 98." But 98 was being run by Chinese law. They were the program directors, so they were the ones making the decisions.
Yeah.
So I remember when I called him, I was at Jimmy Abu Dhabi. He said, "Where are you?" I said, "Where?" I said, "By Jimmy Abu." He said, "Come now." Now the studio from Jimmy Abu Dhabi on Henry Street to Abercrombie Street is 2 streets down. So I walked down to Abercrombie Street and to MBS. He just said, "I'm here to Mr. Constantine." He said, "Tell him O'Brian Haynes." So okay. And then the elevator opened, but he didn't come down. He and Elgo came downstairs. He said, "O'Brian," I said, he said, "Come." Took me upstairs, took me to the radio studio. Charges Laundry was on the air because it was about 4 in the afternoon. And he said, "Sit down." And the next guy sat down next to me, which I found out right after was third base. So third base and myself sat down there with Laundry for about half hour watching the book and stuff and thing. And then then Laundry turned to us and said, "We're looking for somebody, looking for something to fill the overnight shifts. It means working from 12 to 5 kind of thing, and possibly filling in during the day and on weekends when one of the main people can't make it." Somebody gave because it was a chance to get on radio. And that's how we got on 98.9, right? For me, it was particularly hard because unlike Beats and them, I live in South still. So I just come up to town. When I had to work, I have to leave San Fernando, come up town. I used to leave, come up about 3, 4 o'clock, sleep. I had a partner living on South Henry Street. There's a man sleep. Then walk from Henry Street to the station to be there from midnight till 5 a.m. and then take a bus back down to San Fernando, run my garment factory during the day and Good. I said work 3 days a week. Yeah, it was real.
Yeah,
You work hard.
I think.
Yeah, work hard. And that was an interesting time too. That radio thing started. Then when we merged from Abercrombie, we moved with TTT. I meant that we all in same building down on Marvel.
Right,
Two
right,
companies, the radio and the television came together under Louis Singh's stewardship. When they said, well, okay, let's create a program in addition to party time called Party Flavor. We're going to fill that void between lunchtime and about 2 p.m. No, that's all it is. It was just our
right.
music video.
Yeah,
Videos wasn't showing there. There are no videos so long as yet. Laundry and them would have left and started 96.1 by then.
right,
We see
right.
it's 98.9.
Yeah,
And so we had that kind of competitive thing going on. But
yeah.
it was peak time for me because here I was hosting party time,
Mm,
hosting party flavor,
right.
looking on radio as an announcer, playing out in parties on weekends all over the country. And from a Friday or Sunday, probably doing
Right.
7, 8 gigs all over the country. Then
Man,
Saturday morning, hitting your barber and getting your hair cut Saturday at lunchtime, rehearsals at Apple Level Club. Sunday,
yeah.
you're taping for party time. It was real mad. And then every major concert coming through, use the host on stage.
It was wow,
So,
wow.
so
You
what
know
is
what?
Barrington Levy, Boys
Yeah.
the Men, you name it, Chris Cross, we did all of them, everything.
It come like you was the Steve Harvey before the Steve Harvey.
So the
Think
thing
about this.
is,
You like the
making sure that.
Harvey. Yeah, you like the listen, you like the Trinidad Steve Harvey. If you think about it. Yeah, no, really, because like you say, it was on radio, TV, hosting, everywhere you turn as far as entertainment is concerned. Your face or voice is in that space. Wow, nice.
During that time, that's what it was like, and it was fun, but uniquely so because I was fortunate enough to be at the transition of when the industry was turning, when radio became untethered and they were moving away from the conventionalness of broadcasting into a more urban,
Yeah,
youthful kind of feel.
yeah,
I was one of the test piece for that. Had me, Just Jace, there are a few of us, well, third base. We were
yeah,
all part of that change, that transition, and the industry was so much things was happening at the same time. I remember when I got the offering to manage to be the program administrator for 98.9. That was a big deal too. Tony had left, started 96.1. Then Goose was running it on his own for a while. Then Goose decided he was going to migrate, and they brought in Tony Lee to run the station. He was the
yeah,
program director. And Tony and Dale left to go to start Power 102.
yeah,
So they left
yeah,
with the station to start Power 102. And
yeah.
there was a void there. There was a lot of talk about who's going to take over. So the conversation was that maybe management said they'll probably be able to win the block.
Okay,
Just around that time, Marvin and Nigel Lewis, who were my neighbors, Nigel Lewis had won the road march with moving to the left, moving to the right.
okay,
And the
wow.
significance of that is because he won the road match, he asked me to road match him. So what you would find on certain weekends, he would say, you have a gig so and so, and I would just fly out with him to
Okay,
manage and deal with, the issues and the gig and that kind of stuff. That particular weekend, I left, we had something in Miami. So I left to go to Miami. And apparently, Louis Singh offered Just Jace a job on 102, and he left to
okay.
go to Paul 102. By the time I came back in the Monday, I was told, Jace left. I was like, really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
And then on Tuesday, the program, the CEO called me to the office and said, well, we're going to try out as program administrator for 98.9. And
okay.
that is when I transitioned um, from just being on air. At
Yeah,
that time, I had a program on radio lunchtime on a Friday. It's called Radio Fest,
okay.
Shotmaster J and myself.
Yeah,
And that was, in all these surveys, I was the lead program, most listened to program on radio. And I decided to leave the program and stop being on radio because my feeling was that you cannot manage staff and talent and compete with them as well.
yeah, that's true.
Everybody was telling me that you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't leave that. But I strongly felt, listen, if I'm going to do this job as program administrator,
Yeah,
I can't be directing them and at the same time, you know, competing with them, which is what I mean. What that was doing it before, I was doing the same thing because while Chow and Goose was on, they were also on air whilst doing one managerial duties. And I guess watching that process, I realized I say it can't work. There's a conflict, and I felt I wanted to step out and do something different. So I broke that work, and that was the first. So I started full time as program administrator, and then I started to create products for the station. One of the first things we created was during Carnival time. We created something called the Soca School Tour, which that name is pretty popular now during Carnival. Everybody's doing it,
yeah.
but
The
we were
school
the
tour.
first.
So you were behind that? Yeah, the school
I,
tour.
I, I created the school tour. I can rewind a bit. Before the school tour, I created something called Cover Pass,
Okay.
which at the time was a card that we could give listeners,
Yeah.
which would actually be a discount card. And my feeling was at certain times of of the year, we tighten with different products and offer specials and create promotions with people based on that and that kind of thing. And, you know, we would have that whole exchange thing going on.
Right.
And the Guinness Power Pass, well, Guinness came out as the main sponsor of the card. Thank God for Ingrid Isaac, who was the CEO at the time, and she gave me the opportunity there to try that out. And I said, okay, cool. And it became quite a success.
Yeah.
We eventually, just before the powers that be, the state decided to close down TTT, that version of TTT, which included 98.9 and 100. And just before they decided to close it down, we got a big deal with a company in Trinidad called Craven. They had just come in with cigarettes from Jamaica. And they wanted to do something big to establish a brand. And they came to me and said, listen, we want to create an idea and stuff. What did they come up with? I said, well, let's do 2 concerts, one at the beginning of summer, one at the end of summer.
Right.
He said, so the CEO said, okay, our budget is $1 million US. You go and see who you can get for that and create a product for it.
Right.
So, yeah, it was good. So we did the Smooth Summer concert series. The first one, which was the start of summer, we had DMX. It was DMX. What's the Method Man? I know DMX was the main man on the cast. We had quite a few local artists and some. We had a couple of dancehall stars in there. And then show, which was closest I would go, was going to be Lauryn Hill. And we flew Marshall back for that. I remember Marshall said that was the first time he was flown back to Trinidad for a show. And his expense, like we flying in like, oh, you're flying an artist. So he was outside and we flew in this whole band back to Trinidad. So we had Marshall and Lauryn Hill and we had DMX and it would have been DMX and Method Man and them at that time. It was really crazy, right? That concert, after that concert, 98.9 was won the survey, the radio listenership survey in the country.
Right.
And just about 3 or 4 months after they closed the station. They closed the entire company, but it had to do with the station. Was the whole company was going to that was folding anyways. That was part of the process. I just one of the many crazy things we did because being programmed in the street and you could think out of the box. Right. I used to get management help because I was always a rep. I was trying to find some way to do something different. The famous for calling my smart man. You're born hustler. You had to find a way to break the mold. A lot of what we were doing at that time did not exist. So people had a hard time understanding and accepting it because it was never done before. So what is he talking about? That didn't make no sense. That's not computer. And people are coming from. Scooter was like that as well. When you watch Scooter, you watch all these artists. And my thing was that you watch how popular these artists were all over the world. When they come and do shows, you had artists flying from Barbados and Grenada and coming to Trinidad to perform for Carnival. But all they got was that performance stage. When I got with the Ministry of, I met with the Ministry of Education, met with the schools, and we came up with the concept. It was going to be a concert inside the school with the permission of the Ministry of Education under the guidance and control of the teaching staff.
Right.
So we had the rules, so everything was done. And every year we would go in advance, apply to the various schools to give us their interest. We would send that list to the ministry would approve it. And then we'd vet our artists, we had rules for how they perform, what they couldn't do, and that kind of thing. And the school tour was a phenomenon that became a staple. So artists standing up for hours after the show and signing autograph because students wouldn't let them pass and that kind of thing. It was, they got that taste of celebrity that they didn't get anyway. The level of screaming and madness that went in that school when Rupi walk into our school or Bungie or it was crazy, that kind of thing. So we did a lot with the school during that time. And I'm happy to see so many other people have taken that tradition and they still do school tour now.
Yeah, that's a great idea, man. Because what happens is even with the school tour, artists have an opportunity to really create an impact generational wise, because that's something somebody will always remember. Yeah, when I was in private school, concert too,
Yeah, that's why I mentioned the Power Pass, because the Power Pass we couldn't use it in schools because it was sponsored by Guinness, which is our alcoholic brand, so we couldn't use it there. But then when they closed 98.9 and we started 94.1 Boom Champions, I was able to create something called the Boom Card, which was really just another hybrid of the Power Pass. Just keep creating a name and creating a neutral product that didn't have a brand and that would complicate targeting young people. And every scooter we would sell these Boom Cards for like $10. To the point where after a certain amount of years, we had 60,000 Boom Cards out there. Most of those people would have been secondary school students who were now out of school into the job market and that kind of stuff. And for us, we had a database, which means when you get the Boom Card, you follow up your name, your address, your email address, your contact. So we had that. We had a database of information. So I went to my board at the time and said, listen, We have 60,000 boom cards and we have the data for that. Why don't we take this and turn it into like a preloaded bank card for we open a bank and create it as a preloaded Visa card or something like that, Visa debit card that is branded by us that we can control. And that way we can now go to merchants and say we offer discounts or you offer special discounts for our card holders, that kind of thing. Because with the bank where we get a percentage of our sales, you know, and so it becomes something that evolves us from simply depending on ads for revenue. Can now depend on something a product that we create. But by that time, my foreign really, because I had moved from being station manager at Boom Champions to vice president of operations for the entire company, which included Boom Champions and Power Corner too. Then they moved me, Deluxe to say who actually was the person who was in charge of Nestle when I was at Partytime. So he was closely with me then. And then he came in and he took over as CEO for Radio Vision. And he was leaving. At that time, they had promoted me to vice president of operation. And he suggested to the board, let's make him CEO. So as he was leaving, I became CEO of Radio Vision, which encompassed Boom Champions and Power 102. So you see how my career just transitioned from one to the next to the next. And that's when I was having a conversation with the board and saying, let's turn the thing around, let's transition it. Long story short, it was also a time when I was, I think there's a movement that felt I was becoming too potent, too powerful. You know, the system goes sometimes, you know, you're becoming too, because looking at the things I had done and the projects we were involved in and the successes we had, because Book Champions was really a phenomenon at that time. And I did some crazy things. One year.
Let's talk about some of the crazy things, man.
First of all, there were 3 urban stations. There was Boom Champions. There was Red FM 96.7 and there was 96.1. 96.1 being at that time the oldest because they came off at 98.9. So 98 was the first. 98 closed down, 96 came right after 96. And then when Boom Champions and Red FM launched a week apart. So a month apart. And I'll tell you what the story about that. When we were launching, we knew that they were launching at a station called Red FM. And I was with the other company, Radio Vision, and we were ready to go at that time. And I was waiting on the engineer and said, listen, we were getting this processor, which is a better quality. It will really make our station sound better. He said, but I think I arrived for 4 weeks. So they turned to me and said, listen, we can go now with what we have, or we can wait the 4 weeks. And I said, we'll wait. So that meant we launched 4 weeks after Red FM. But when we launched and you heard the quality of the song, that's where the name was born, Boom Champions, because boom, the fatness of the bass, the sound and quality of the station was exceptional. But we became a phenomenon because people was putting us on in the cars and in the houses and turning up the volume and just taking in the bang, because that is what it was all about. That was a risk I took then. And it worked. Right after we launched the station, Francis Fashion chain of stores was expanded. They've been expanding for a while now. I don't know if you remember them. They were the first to have these escalators in stores and things. The 6 branches throughout the country. So here they were launching the first one, the one on Henry Street. They converted it to a 3-story. But one floor was all Nike, the other floor was all this other design. It was really a big thing. And they said they wanted to do something special to launch. So I said, okay, let's move the station there for the entire day. But at that time, it would just be like an hour or whatever. I was talking about doing a full 8 or 10 hour, full 10-hour day. Said, okay. So they signed it. But then Francis had competitors like Sports and Games and Dito and that kind of stuff. And he came back to me just after we launched the idea and we were waiting, and he said, well, how are we going to do this? Because I don't want those guys ads playing while in my store. So
that's a good point.
I went to those guys and I said, okay, listen, for this day, I'm suspending your commissions on this day. But every ad you have booked to run today, I'm going to give you 10 ads going on the road for it.
For free?
Of course, I've been said to them, I'm not playing your ads today, but I'm going to give you 10 ads for every. If you had 10 ads booked today, you're going to get 10. You'll get each one will give you 10 going on the road.
That's a good deal, man.
They took the deal. So that day, there was no competing ads for him. And all kind of competition, all that stuff. It was so successful that after we did Henry Street, he had us do Arima, we did Tobago, we did Westmall, we did Gulf City, we did all the openings for Francis Fashions and all these stores. And we became, one of his major marquee things. His brand became intimately associated with Boom Champions and how we did it.
You guys did it.
Like I say, looking back on it, it traces the hustle from back in the days of hustling. Trying to sell pom-pom teddy bears coming up the road. When I look at the things I did in radio, it wasn't much different. It's finding a way to do everything. There was the most memorable time for me was there was a survey period. Surveys at time when they measure all these stations to see who have more listenership.
Right.
And Chawan, they decided that they're going to bring Sean Kingston down to Zen for that. The challenge I always faced is the fact that we didn't have money to do major things. I didn't have budget. I had to figure out creatively how to do things. Everybody said, well, how are you going to compete? What are you going to do? And then one of my thinkers who worked with me, Andrew Boyd, he came to me and said, "Why we don't just buy tickets to the show and sell it and give it away? They won't give away tickets. That's not a bad idea." I called Nyla, I said, "Nyla, go and buy 20 tickets on your credit card for me and bring it. I need 20 tickets for that show now." I said, "And go and make a promo. We giving away tickets for Sean Kingston." And we put the promo on the air. And when we put the promo on the air, Jeffrey Lee called me and he said, "Why what you all doing is not illegal, it's immoral." I said, "How is it immoral? We're promoting your show." Right? Coming out of that, Tony Shaw didn't talk to me for 5 years.
I just want to ask you, man, what's your relationship? How you guys' relationship? Because you guys been competitors for so long, how you guys' relationship?
Well, I don't see it as being competitors. I actually have the kind of respect I have for Tony Chowlin on it's phenomenal because I knew Tony before in my time in fashion, because just like I was come up as a fashion commentator, Tony was very much interested in fashion. And he ran a restaurant downtown called Sandwich Construction. But he was also a part-time model and style aficionado. And so we'd run into each other in different circumstances. And I remember him doing a show where he participated in a fashion show I was in, where he did some clothes for Andrew Burke and and for some other major designers. So he was somebody else into fashion when I was into fashion. When I got into radio, and I remember I told you the story. The person I walked into and sat me down and who actually basically talked to me and hired me for radio was Tony Chowlin on. So to me, there was never a situation of competing in that way. Yes, we had to find ways of fighting the challenges that was there, but I looked at it as just basic business. Outside of that, I had much respect for him. There's a story that was untold inside of there, because during the time he started in 96, he did offer me a position. And at first I turned it down.
Why?
Well, because I felt that I had party time and all the other things. It was all tied to the same company, because the radio station I was with was part of TTT and everything, and that's where party time was. If I left, I would be walking away from that legacy. And I always used to say that I am not a DJ, I'm an MC. I can speak, but talking on a stage and on a microphone was what I would excel at, unlike my compatriots like Tilbit and all these other guys. They were DJs, they could play music, they could talk, they had more versatility in that realm. So I turned it down. And then we had a major falling out in our staff a couple days after with Ian Alago. It was really weird. He really embarrassed us to the hilt. Tilbit and I walked out of that meeting. I walked straight across to 96 and accepted the job. And we were there. I was there for I did a total of 1 week, because when we left, the release who was the head of the company was out of the country. And so I left and I started working on 96. I did 3 shifts. Releasing came back in the Friday and he sent a call me. I went to a meeting with him. He said, "What happened?" I told him what happened. I think he said he's stupid. He said, "I care what you say, mate. I'm not accepting that. I'm not accepting the resignation from you." I said, "But he said, I want to hear no words. I'm not accepting the resignation."
Right.
So I went across to Tony Chow. I said, "Listen, I'm leaving. I'm going back," because I'm thinking he was upset with me then for leaving, right? But in hindsight, it was the best decision I made, because if I'd stayed, I would never have got the chance to run 98.9, because at that time I was just an announcer there. I wasn't in charge of the station yet. But that led to me moving from being an announcer on the air to being program administrator 98.9, to leaving 98, getting into Boom Champions, being station manager, vice president of operations, and CEO. So the trajectory of my career was again affected by this decision, just like when I left On Track and went to Partytime. It's the same kind of situation. So the career was an interesting roller. But you're talking these things and all these memories coming flooding back one after the other.
That's the reason for the conversation, man. That's the reason for the conversation. So you mentioned Boom Champions. Something happened, and bear with me, because I'm trying to connect the dots here. But the situation where I believe Patrick Manning had called and made a complaint about one of the on-air personalities, and they got suspended.
That was a big deal.
What happened?
There was a an announcer on the air by the name of Kevin Baker at the time. It was always an announcer on the DJ. So he and the DJ, and we would have a newscaster coming to read the newscast for major news. So it was a major newscast, and the newscaster was reading news, part of the news report related to Patrick Manning and something he did or said. And Kevin Baker interrupted the newscast and put his comments in like, that's what you do, but I think he should, and I feel that he's wrong and he should not. And then the newscast continued. When the incident happened, Patrick Manning was driving to Port of Spain. So he gave the instruction to drive straight to our station, and he came to the station and asked for the announcer. By the time he got there, the shift had ended and the person had already left, but it became a big thing because the Prime Minister came to the station. Right? Now, when I heard about the incident, even before the Prime Minister came to the station, before that happened, I had taken the decision that he was going to be suspended. It happened on a Saturday, and I was doing a staff meeting on Monday, and I was going to suspend him. Right? When I suspended him, I said you're going to have to take 2 weeks off for that because that is not protocol. But the Media Association trying to begin, I jumped in and said that I was towing the line, and it was a whole bacchanal and controversy.
Yeah.
I said, I mean, it wasn't just the politics, the whole country, everybody. Kevin Baker's fans were saying one thing. Media Association came out and said competitive media had comments to me. My rationale was very simple. In how we operate the radio station, news is news. News is not a place where commentary is allowed. Our formula was that if a newscast is being read, the information is transmitted by the newscaster. That's why there's someone separate to read the news. And then the host of the show comes back after. So you don't allow the host of your show to come in and make comments during the show. That is not permissible. So he was suspended for violating that operational protocol as far as how we do the programming, because that doesn't happen. It's never happened before. So what he did there was totally out of context and had to be treated with accordingly. And back then, I mean, I was a hard task master. Most of them guys on air knew that we used to, that I would handle it rough in many different ways, not just in that instance, but we did every 3 weeks, I would do a meeting session. It was mandatory that staff would attend. And we would go through every incident that would have happened over the course of that 3 weeks. And because of the competitive environment we were in, it wasn't just about how you function on air. I used to tell them, listen, in a competitive environment, as a personality on air, you represent the brand. So if you go do it and you hit your girlfriend, it's going to say boom champions, announcer hit the girl. You have to think about it from on every level. And we used to manage it like that. And then every year we also would have an all-day retreat where we'd look at shifts, talk about strengths and weaknesses, compare our shifts to the competitors, both at Red FM 96.1. We have a full breakdown. And at that time, we make changes and adjustments as if we're going to move somebody around, if we're going to bring in new talent. Whatever's going to happen, that one-day retreat would do that. So staff was accustomed in Boom Champions to a certain level of discipline and structure as to how they function. They knew they had a management that understood the product, because I used to always say to each and every one of them, I said, I am one qualified to talk to you because everything you do, and I've done every part of it. That's why I stand in front of the microphone already. For years, I've been out there in the market as a host, as a personality, as a presenter, just like all you. I understand how to market products because I've been in management for a while. So when I'm talking, I just talking, with fear. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've walked the road. So my approach to it was unapologetic. You follow where I'm coming from, right? But we also did a lot of pioneering things. Like, I mean, when we started Chronicles of a Player, that was unprecedented. That talking sex in the night, that didn't happen before. You laugh, about it.
Yeah, no fucking shows over the years, man. Like I said, you guys definitely were pioneers in taking that urban radio to a different level.
It goes all the way back to the beginning. When we started, you couldn't send a text message from B-Mobile to Digicel.
Right.
And we built a system in studio, so we had 2 phone numbers, but then when the announcer messages coming from B-Mobile or Digicel on the screen, so you didn't have to look at 2 different phones, and we didn't have to segregate it. We started from then to transition. We were the first station in trying to be able to stream on BlackBerry phones. And we got that deal license from BlackBerry out of Canada. They gave us the license to do it, and we built a platform, and we were streaming it to listeners all over the world on BlackBerries. We were the first station in Trinidad to be able to put cameras in the studio when we coined the phrase radio. And so when it came to innovation and thinking out the box, Boom Champions led the way in a lot of different ways. I think it's all about timing. I was fortunate enough to be, just like when I came into media, I was right there when the thing was changing. And the same happened. When I was at Boom Champions is when the whole advent of social media was now becoming relevant and now developing. And we were finding all kind of crazy ways to intertwine the two things and create some new stuff out there. It was fascinating to me. Well fun. Well
Yeah.
fun.
A lot of talent came out of Boom Champions. Now, one person that comes to mind is Sonny Bling.
Mm.
How did Sonny Bling, end up in?
Wow.
I heard stories in the street, but and I also interviewed Sonny Bling. I don't think I asked
Mm.
him specifically how he ended up there. Yeah, yeah. The first time I met Sonny Bling was actually at a radio station promo in Arima. So
Mm.
that being said, yeah, how did Sonny Bling end up at Boom?
Glenn Howard was my music coordinator at Good Champions. For a long time, he did a lot of the staff. While I did most of the day-to-day management, he did the staff interaction.
Yeah,
And he kept telling me about this guy he wanted to meet him and extra to other presenters and stuff.
yeah,
But he also came at a time when I was looking at radio personalities transitioning into being more.
right.
Where we had a guy they called Mr. Smooth at the time. Mr. Smooth was one
Yeah,
on billboards all over Toronto because he got the right vehicles with the mobile and with different people and stuff. And I started to show them how you could really expand. You as a personality you could take your career. I always say to them, listen, you don't make money on radio, you make money because you're on radio.
yeah,
Right? The
yeah,
radio station shouldn't be made the place they making the money because you're on the air. You're supposed to take that and parlay that into big
yeah,
money deals. You
right,
follow coming now. But it
yeah,
only would happen if you understood your brand. So Hans Devines, Sonny Bling, Mr. Smooth, Mike Jones and Polo and all the others, that those kind of things, they understood that. My way of competing with 96.1 and 96.7 was to
yeah,
take my people and turn them into, you know what I
yeah,
mean? That's why we created the Boom Calendar, which was another controversial thing. When I did the calendar, everybody was like, you're creating all kind of things. You're not putting them in the makeup, you're doing all kind of bull. It was all kind of arguments. And I stood my ground. I said, we doing the calendar. When we did the calendar, the first year, I decided I'm going to do our Boom Calendar tour. So
okay,
we rent a limousine and they pick us up at the station and we driving them. We say we going to Gulf City Mall and then we going to Trin City Mall and something. And by the time we got to Trin City Mall, you see, they're right by sports and we set up tables for them where everybody could
yeah,
sign the calendar and thing.
yeah,
And you look and see the line. If you see the line of woman, young
yeah,
girls come out and line up all going outside the mall waiting to get a calendar signed. So much
wow,
so that as you mentioned Sonny Bling. Sonny Bling was so funny. He
yeah,
was not the calendar. But Sonny
yeah,
Bling took the back of the calendar, the white part, and he
yeah,
drew with a marker, a stick, a guy with a stick with a wrong head and two stick and an
yeah,
arm and put Sonny Bling and he was autographing that
yeah,
at Trent City. That, but Sonny's a fool like that. There
yeah,
was kind of things that we did, you know. Every time we play, we throw a party. We used to throw a party once a month at one of the clubs. I used to take the money from the door receipts from that and
yeah,
buy uniforms. So every week, every time I see this time, that have a different 19.9,
yeah,
him and 19 book champions t-shirt, you know, so the branded that different boom gear, different, you know.
yeah,
All of this was part of the hike. It was because I recognized that to compete, you might be competing with voices, but you compete with personalities,
yeah,
with the fact that people would endear themselves to the guys. Men want to be like them, women want to be with them, and you
yeah,
build a whole cycle, and it worked.
yeah,
Right? The
yeah,
success of the station was based on the fact that we created some phenomena.
right, right,
Breaking the rules as usual. But at that time, it was one of the games. It was easy to kind of slide, but that is where it started for me to stop being the center of things.
yeah,
Move
yeah,
away. I live vicariously through the successes of others. It started from since 98.98. JW was in 98. And that was another story I didn't tell you about, but that came about because he was doing a broadcasting course with Percy Parker. This guy, Dale Enoch, went to give a lecture in the course. He
yeah,
asked Dale to
yeah,
see what the inside of a studio would look like. The
right,
night he came to do it, Dale and Antonio was hosting a show but on 19, but they had the Prime Minister and they couldn't let him in. As the show was ending, Dale said, Brian, could you just bring him in and show him the room? So I said, no, I brought him in. Now we started to talk. I was producing Party Time. And I said, well, okay, come and work as an assistant for me on Party Time.
right.
And he did. And from that process, he started he started to become a mainstay on radio and with all that we were doing.
This is great.
Teaching,
This is that.
teaching him how
Yeah,
Jason Williams, JW.
yeah,
I
oh,
remember
wow,
when he expressed an interest in hosting shows and emceeing and things. Soca Monarch was the first thing we put him on to MC under 98.9. At
okay,
that time, I had spent years hosting Soca Monarch and I decided that it is time to transition. So I had him and Mark Anthony. And for
yeah,
me, I was like the coach, them run on stage and introduce the artist. And I waiting for them on the next time to tell them, okay, that was good, but this way they wrong and this way they can't just and that kind of thing.
right,
And we
right,
spent 2 or 3 seasons of Soca Monarch teaching them the ropes.
oh,
What to do, what not to do, what right, what not, what to think. And I did that because, again, I looked at when I was coming up, there were so many personalities, presenters, which is I looked up to, who
yeah,
didn't help. They didn't try to say, well, let me show you the way, let me hold your hand, let me nurture you in any kind of way. And I promised myself I wasn't going to be that kind of guy. So I spent a lot of time training, nurture, and development. Started in 98.9, and then when you looked at what happened in when we got to Boom Champions 94.1, same kind of nurturing and development. So now when I look back and I look at all the major names on radio right now, would have had some time under my tutelage, some level of kind of Blaze with South Construction. Was under me. They have one of the biggest programs out now. That kind of thing started right there. You follow where coming from. A.B. St. Hill, Tamara Williams, Jason Williams. Just go on and on and on. There are so many of them, that came through that. It's all part of the things that I enjoy about having been there. The opportunity to help nurture was something that to me was very important.
Synergy TV. How you got involved in Synergy?
Well, when I left Boom Champions, and of course we had this management had a big disagreement, and we decided to part ways. It was most uncomfortable for a while, but we got past it. I did a year at Iowa George, and that is where I transitioned from I changed the name from Bashment, Trinity Bashment Radio, to Street 919 FM. So I came up with that and I put that in place. I spent that's the 12 months I spent there.
Why you to change the name? Why felt that the name had to?
Well, no, at the time when I went to it, the whole idea was to really brand and reposition the station. And then we had a long discussion about what was the brand, where was it going to go, and what was the vision behind turning it around. That was the name we came up with. And we did a whole rebranding exercise, and we've kept the name from then to now. So I think the 12 months I spent there was one of. It was very interesting, but I'm pleased about the fact that things that we put in place have stood. It hasn't changed. The brand has. I was doing some fantastic things with it. What he's turned the radio station into now with visual and audio and all the other formats that have been incorporated is fantastic. And that was transformational. That happened after I left, but still, the name change was I was particularly instrumental there. During that time, Peter Lewis had left Synergy, had started B Sports, where he went into sports programming. And they were looking for someone there. The management was looking for someone to fill that void. Knowing that I had left 98 Champions, they sent to call me. And it's weird because I started my contract at Iowa and at Trinity Bashment ended on December 1st. I started at Synergy TV on December 1st, 13 years ago. Well, 14 years ago. This is my 14th year.
14, yeah.
December would have been 14 years.
Yeah.
Right. So I've been there ever since.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I did 13 years at TTT before it closed. I did 13 years at Boom Champions. I'm in 1 year at Iowa, and I'm now in my 14th year at Synergy. Right, so I've had that. People always say, wait, it's not. So I haven't bounced around. I've just been 3 places. It's not like I here, there, and everywhere.
Right.
It's been very, very small.
When you look back at the media space, man, because you've been in the media space, is it 14 years of Synergy? So over 20 years. Pretty much almost
over 30 years.
Almost 40, honestly, about 35 years. Yeah. A lot has changed over the years, man. Some of the changes you have seen that you feel like is good or could be done better, because even in the radio, even with the radio programming and stuff like that now, it seems like some of the disciplines is not there like it used to be.
Oh yeah. There's been a dilution, and that will happen in any market where it multiplies really fast. You're talking about a marketplace with over 38 radio stations. Multiple formats, yes, but it's a big market. In every genre, you have at least 3 or 4 for the least in the same format. That will cause a level of dilution. Then most of the owners and management of radio in particular did not come from a radio background. So the understanding of what the business and the industry should be didn't really follow a particular plan and structure. My concern is that, especially now, whatever we do in the media space, it's on a world platform. It's no longer, radio and radio in Trinidad. When you're in Trinidad, you're talking to the world, literally. That's how the format is set up. All right. And I've always said to people, I said, tell me, name 5 people in urban media in Trinidad that you know for sure can leave Trinidad and walk into any station in London, New York, Canada, and work.
Yeah.
If you can find 5 out of 38 radio stations, right? I don't think it's possible. It'd be hard pressed to find. I'm talking about by way of skill and ability as individuals. Now, while the radio stations, the personalities on are responsible for themselves and their brand and their product. There's an individual level of management that has to occur. And there's a level of growth and development that should be there. Unfortunately, we are now in the industry, there's a thinking that what I've gotten through the door, that's all I need to do.
Yeah, it's like,
When I started, it was always about, because we were the first, we were the newest ones, it was about improving your craft.
right,
So we were like sponge learning. I figure like a carpenter and using a hammer every day should become skilled with that hammer. You're supposed to be mastering the art of hammering nails. You
right,
can't be clumsy with it if you're
yeah,
doing it for a certain length of time. That's a rule I applied to myself when I was on. I remember um when I got on there after the first 3 months, Brenda Isabel told me, she said, go in the dictionary every day, find a word, and the meaning of the word and build it into your conversation.
serious?
Yeah, she said, let's open it like you open, let's open it up page, find a word, learn the meaning of the word and build it into your conversation. So you build your vocabulary that way, but you
Yeah,
build it organically, but in a natural way.
yeah,
It aids in your ability to speak. You follow where I'm coming from, right?
okay,
And, she was also very instrumental at that time in sending us on courses. When BBC sent out trainers to the Caribbean, once they sent us to Barbados to train. I talk about, and then the other time we were writing TBC now, where TTT was and TBC was just behind one another. So
right,
here we are leaving our station, going in the back and taking a course 3 days a week for 3 days for a week with a trainer out of UK on
yeah,
broadcast informatics and that kind of thing.
that's
And
nice.
those things have carried me for life.
Yeah,
Things I learned there. I used to do the same thing with my presenters. Skill, technique, not just about, talking dialect, Trini, but the point is being
right,
able to communicate effectively to that anybody anywhere in the world can understand what you're saying and the
right,
message you're trying to transmit is important. And we have too many above broadcasters today, young broadcasters that don't understand that they are broadcasters and they have to do that. I used
yeah,
to tell them, I said, listen, if you're on the air right now and something major happens, you have to be able to transmit that. I had
right,
an announcer in Boom Champ in 98.9,
yeah,
right, called Sim Simmer.
yeah,
And Sim Simmer had the illustrious pleasure or misfortune, when they were to look at it,
right,
be on the air when two major crises happened. We were driving to Mayaro,
yeah,
to play in a party, and we got the news that Princess Diana was killed.
okay,
And he as a year and had to announce that. But there's a man who grew up in the streets in Belmont, and he had to announce that. And then he was also on the air when Michael Jackson died. And so he run into situations where, as a broadcaster, he had to stop all our yardism and get into
right,
some serious news just happen and break it to people. What
yeah,
happens if you're on the air and there's a major insurrection or a coup? How do you treat with that? A
yeah,
tsunami, a major disaster. So it's not just about the hype and the vibes. You also have to have a certain level of skill, and you have to be sensible enough, responsible enough, because as the antenna, you have a responsibility to handle things well.
yeah,
Knowing that and training yourself for that is important. That is one of the things that's missing right now. I think a lot of people who sit down in front of that microphone take that for granted, or don't necessarily absorb that. Okay, apart from the folly, fun and games, I have a responsibility here.
right.
Well, that coming from.
That makes sense.
There's also the basic ability to read. I mean, read like read. I mean,
I was,
comprehend.
yeah. Before we get into that, I did an interview with MX Prime, right? Marketing. And he was talking about it because he speaks very well and all these things, right? And I said biggest pet peeve in Lister Radio is when the announcer is reading an ad and laughing
Yeah,
and doing it like it's a joke thing. So my mind
yeah,
is, wait,
yeah.
didn't somebody pay for this? You know? I just wanted to touch base on that. That's my
But
biggest
then,
pet.
Mark, as a Marco right now, I things I do is I consult a lot of major entities that look into market products, events, products, that kind of thing. And sometimes they're making decisions as to where they're going to put the product. And I tell them, I say, if you go here, think of, name how many people on air that on those shift lineups that you know could effectively sell your product. I said, and then take it this carnival time, you do that fed. You have a new fed coming. And so there's a hell of a lot of traffic. Does the announcer, they have the position, the ability in your knowledge to effectively transition from one product to the next, to deliberately and with a sense of detail and directness sell your idea, your brand, your product, your effect, your event. Really, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
you have a lot of what you call bush selling. They just skim through this stuff. There are a lot
yeah,
of people who on the end now and execute so that they can say, I have done it. But it's not that they've done it well. It's not
right,
that they've sold it. You know,
right,
and all them things important because that's your bread and butter that go pays the bills. Not your hype and your wildness and your talking trippiness about this one and that one and big up to that. What is important
yeah.
pays the bills is advertising. That means that's the place that you have to show the most skill.
You know
All the
what?
while, let's say, well,
To be devil's advocate here, O'Brien, doesn't some of the responsibility falls on management as far as the training and how do they recruit these personalities? Because I mean, I remember, usually you would have to go to at least some type of broadcasting school or have some type of broadcasting background or training or what have you. If-
that is where trend, that is a force, right, Mango? Because we have people running broadcast schools in the country that have no real formal training in broadcast training, not broadcast. There are a lot of great announcers in this country with great voices and great personality and skill, but they can't teach anybody what they have. They don't know how to take what they do and pass that knowledge on to someone else so that they can do it to that level. I can call some names, but I don't want to put nobody on the spot here because they're very skilled, they're very capable. They're some of the best voices, but they're not great teachers. Not everyone is a teacher. Glenn Antoine was one of the best teachers out here, right? After Glenn would be Edison Carr, now these guys aren't around anymore. If all are
Yeah.
coming from, these guys understood how to teach
Yeah.
broadcasting. And teaching it is not just about, people think broadcast is about talking and is about understanding and interpretation. If I can take a piece of information and interpret it in a way that you, the listener, can understand, is important. But
Yeah.
you can write the best script on paper, but a script is made up of the capital letters at the beginning of a paragraph, full stop, commas. But that's there so that you can get a level of comprehension of what is intended
Right.
by the word. You as a voice now have to take that and transmit that. You have to interpret and be able to deliver it in a manner. I'm not watching the page, I can't see the full stuff.
Right.
But in your tone, I can tell, okay, we starting at a different point of the conversation here because of how you intonate. Those things are important.
Yeah.
People are coming from. And too many of us on air don't know how to do that. Have no idea. No. I laugh at it. I mean, it's something like a old man kind of thing, but that's not what I say. When it comes to media fraternity in Trinidad and Tobago, I think it's
Yeah.
run its course, right?
Yeah.
I honestly feel that what's going to happen shortly is that you're going to find a number of stations closing down because the market is going to shrink. For me, I don't know that I want to be doing anything in media anymore. I'm trying to find the right words to say to some civilized. It's time for me to disappear. I don't mean in a negative way. It's time for me to
Yeah.
move on and stay away from that. I've been just recently offered a bigger position in management in a major broadcast entity
Yeah.
because I felt that I didn't want to go back into that rat race. Enjoy what I do now. I like the creative side of it. I still like I just built a new set for Breaking Down and I built it myself with more hands. It
Nice.
was fun for me to do. And everybody talk about how nice it is. Like I like this kind of things. So I like the creativity of project. When we do synergy stage, how we put it together, how we orchestrate it, the idea of it is something I want to build on, grow on.
Right.
Moving synergy has been done out of Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to carnivals. I mean, as it is right now, we start in 2026.
Yeah.
Every month, starting next month, we in a carnival in some part of the world, covering
Nice.
it live.
Yeah.
Moving our morning show to that location. So
Yeah.
we're going from April in St. Thomas to May in St. Lucia to June in St. Vincent to
Yeah.
July in Barbados and Antigua, right? To Grenada in August,
Okay.
to New
Nice.
York in September, to Miami in October, back to
Yeah.
Barbados in November. The point is that this is where I'm involved. So I enjoy that challenge. Not only the day to me is boring, but
Yeah.
I can still do it. I am mad at it, but
Mm.
I live for the innovation, right? Another thing I'm going to do is like what I'm doing here right now is the first phase of it.
Okay.
In particular, and I didn't start the legacy of Synergy. I respect it very much. I feel I have a responsibility to what was built. The
Yeah.
good thing is that Peter and Gandal and like Paul and Peter Lewis, who was very much instrumental in running Synergy over the years, have done a fantastic job in archiving the content.
Okay.
So I
Good.
feel that I'm digitizing most of it, and what you're gonna see in the next couple of months is a lot of those old shows being replayed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
From some of the nightly shows to some of the major concerts and presentations that we done, you bring that back and you show that. Because no one else is doing it. No one else is going back to that's what we're missing. Right?
Yeah.
For a long time I became very concerned about the fact that as a country, while we have a big media operation, we
Yeah.
have a poor archiving of the historical data of things as they happen. That's why when you call about this, I said, you know what? It has to
Yeah.
be done because too much of the information out there is wrong because as people talk, it changes and it gets falsified and misunderstood and twisted. So somebody needs to put the facts down in a
Yeah.
digital context.
Mm-hmm.
And that was important. So for me now, this
Yeah.
time to relax and take it easy. Every 3 months I take time off. Every 3 months I say, you know what, I wanna do something, I wanna travel, I wanna do something different, I wanna take a breather. I need to relax.
That's nice.
I'm very much into taking care of myself now because the machine kind of owes very much on health and managing the systems.
You see that young man, you talk about, man.
Chad, we don't talk about
The real talk, man. Like I say, you've been in the game for some time. And,
Since I was 19.
since you were 19, and you really did a good job, every decade, you know, keeping up with what's taking place, and you always had a vision, from radio, different media houses and whatnot. You always had a vision on, like I said, moving forward, thinking ahead, looking ahead, seeing things, the way things, should progress. Where do you see a legacy? O'Brien Haynes, where do you see your legacy? How do you want people to remember you?
As fearless and crazy because I was fearless in my time. I took great pleasure doing things that nobody else had done where I coming from. And
Yeah, yeah.
naturally, as I got bored very easily. So
Okay.
yeah, I want to have that legacy and innovation. I wanted understood and known that yeah, I did a lot of things that people were afraid to do.
Yeah.
But that risk-taking element, I think, is what allowed for the change in the industry. So now when I look back at I said on all these things that have been done now as standard procedure, with people not knowing that we were the ones that started it, I was instrumental in that whole process. I'm comfortable with that. Because I've spent so much of my life, my early life, being recognized and being known, when I keep using the word disappear, that's what I mean right now. I just take pride in leaving this country and going, I just go to the mall in Miami and just sit down because nobody, you're just because nobody are passing by, you look up, you could just,
Yes.
oh, I know his face from somewhere, you just be
Yeah.
a face in the crowd because
Yeah.
you've been afraid out front for so long that you wanna move back from that, and that's
Yeah.
my greatest desire right now to just move away from that level of life. Like,
Yeah. Simple living. I mean, makes sense, man.
yeah,
Makes sense. All right. So this part of the podcast is called 2000 Questions About Me. It's based on a book that I bought a couple of years ago. I obviously wouldn't ask you 2000 questions, but I'll ask you to pick a number from 1 to 2000, and the number that you pick will be the question that's asked out of the book.
okay, 1919.
Hey, I'm going way up there. All right. 1900 and what is it?
19, 19.
119. All right. Let me see. Boom, 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 boom. All right. 119. Do you trust things you read online? If so, what is your most reliable source? Wow. I like the media again all over again.
Well, I don't trust things that we don't like. As somebody who's been on both sides of the fence, I understand what it is to create spin.
Yeah.
I understand what it is to sell an idea. No, I've had to do that for different people and different
Yeah.
organizations for things. So you understand crisis management and all that kind of stuff. I think
Right.
it was created
Yeah.
carefully. So I don't trust them. Why we not?
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, boss man, at this point, man, we're gonna wrap it up. Any last statements you want to make before, we conclude?
Well, like I said, this is an opportunity to blow the pipes till they flush. I hope I didn't overload the circuits, but I think a life in media is something that should be reviewed, and there are
Yeah.
people who would think a lot of things about my career and my existence, but I'm proud of everything I've been. Coming as, Cynthia oldest son from San
Yeah.
Fernando without a father and being able to achieve what I've achieved, I think I can stand proud,
Yeah.
regardless of the circumstances. And because of that, I'm happy. There's a level of contentment I feel every day right now that cannot be duplicated. You don't know what it's like to be me, sit where I am, do what I do, and be unbothered. And
Yeah.
that's the state of mind I really enjoy being in right now, and that's totally unbothered. My life, my people, my circumstance.
Well, Mr. Haynes, man, I'm really thankful and grateful. And I'm happy that you had an opportunity to really tell your story, man, because
Yeah.
you were one of them people I say, man, brand story needs to be told because you don't do much interviews. I mean, if you look, you could probably count on 2 fingers.
This will be the first one in about 20 years.
I'm really, really thankful, man. I definitely want to take the opportunity, man, to give you flowers and thank you for your contribution to the arts and of Trinidad, man. Like I said, I remember as a teenager watching you on Party Time. I used to just watch the outfits, but like, yeah, boy, if you were rock or which, you go find it. But yeah, bro, you did the thing, man. Trust me. A lot of trust me, your name is definitely you part of culture. Yeah, when it comes to Trinidad culture and entertainment, your name is up there with the greats, man. So definitely want to big you up on that. Give
Appreciate
that.
those words, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
appreciate it. Different time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, so O'Brian Haynes.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the AlonzoBash Podcast. Thank you for tuning in and rocking with us. If you enjoyed today's conversation, leave a comment and let us know your favorite episode so far. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help the podcast grow. You can catch the AlonzoBash Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even on Amazon Alexa devices. Just ask Alexa to play the AlonzoBash Podcast. Until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and as Alonzo would say, stay focused on your goals and dreams. See you on the next episode.
Islands in the sun, islands in the fun. Welcome, welcome one and all to the land of death. Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. When they come to Bacchanal, well, they can't beat we at Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. Look, sweet woman parade abundantly. The brethren, they full of energy. Some people say God is a Trini. Paradise or not convincingly. God gave us a spirit fiery, but nothing in the world about that we. But look at smart man gone with we money. We still come out and mash up the party. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me. Oh, from Toko to Caroni. Oh, Maraval to Sanssouci. Oh, from Scarborough to Kokori. Oh, profiling on Frederick Street. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me. All these years I spent abroad in the cold, longing to be home. Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. Lord, I pray that some sweet day I will no longer have to roam. Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. The problems we have are plain to see. We prove we can stand this scrutiny. All and all that true democracy. How we vote is not how we party. There's no place like home, some people say. Though some have to leave to make their way. But in your hearts I know their destiny. So come home and big up the country. Sweet, sweet TNT. Lord, how I love of this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Lord, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me. From Cuba to Signal Hill. Arima to Charlottesville. Matlock down to Port of Spain. Yeah, yeah. We play in my sun or rain. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Look at Trini girl there. She breaking away. A big old girl. What a bacchanal. The men gone wild. The wicked style. The girl look back. The unreal. The style just changed. Man rearrange. The vet gone clear. Cause nothing can compare to a Trini rising. Oh, no, no. Oh, nothing can compare to a Trini rising. No, no, no. As crazy as we might seem to be, we still fight to be a family. Indian, African, or a Chinese, Syrian, French, Creole, or Portuguese. We blessed with a spirit fiery. Some people say God is a Trini. Sweet woman parade abundantly. Now the problem is plain to see. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. There's no place on earth I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me. Westmore into Los Zero. From Sando to Mayaro. From Pina to Grand River. Sweetness in abundance everywhere. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me. No, 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 no. Na 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 na. Sweet, sweet TNT.